So this is like our first official podcast, right? You, you guys ready?
Yeah, I'd hope
Brennan?
so.
Uh, Cajun, are you ready?
Oh, I'm always ready.
Ian, you ready? No. I asked, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, nerds and nerdettes, children of all ages, the Alpha Nerds proudly presents its premiere podcast. It's the Raging Cajun. It's ADN and me, Twiz13. This is the Alpha Nerds podcast.
Yeah.
How's those headphones doing? How's those headphones doing? Hey, welcome everyone. If you're joining us, welcome to the official first real podcast, not the sequel. Yesterday was the prequel. This is the original. With a wait. Well, I spent my night last night, like I said I was going to, at Tilted Towers in Fortnite, trying to score my first win, my chicken dinner. Haven't gotten it yet, so that's still my obsession.
Well, I was working on a seasonal character for Diablo 3 and decided to up my Paragon, so now I'm at 180 Paragon levels, rolling, collecting money, and just stashing away.
Rolling.
Nice. And me, obviously, like I said, I was playing Monster Hunter last night, chasing down some stuff with my buddy. Got a couple of things in there. It took me about 17 hours by itself just to create the character because it is a JRPG. So I at least got the achievement for creating the character. We'll see what happens from there. No promises will be made at this time. But that's awesome,
How's
guys.
it looking so far?
Yeah,
How's it looking?
I gotta say, it looks really good so far. There's a good reason that's been given high scores because I do like the graphics on it. The gameplay does feel very Monster Hunter. However, barrier for entry is still very JRPG. So if you're not a grindy individual, this game might not be for you because you will be running around hacking and slashing things that won't die forever. But if you're into that, obviously you'll have a whole lot of fun, especially if you're doing it with a bunch of other people. So what we're going to do is jump into some tech news that we got here. Not too long ago, actually on the 12th, the CES 2018 just finished up, and there was all kinds of stuff there. We have the normal, probably the big normal things that you always see during these events is more AI, robots, computers. I mean, we had computer companies, working together, which is out of control. And of course, even TVs that can apparently roll up like posters. So there's that.
Oh, that's yeah. That's
the first thing that I wanted to talk about was we have Alexa. That's a big thing right now as an AI. Alexa's been getting a whole lot of enemies. I mean, we have Google Home. She's under fire. She's under attack. And apparently Google's going hard in the paint because they want to move everything to LG TVs, this company called Slag Smart Locks, and even Hunter ceiling fans.
What?
Yeah, apparently Google Home will now, you could talk to your fans, your locks, and your TVs, even though I guess we could already do that.
all right. You know,
It's things like that that make me sound like a conspiracy theorist. You know, I don't think I want Google having that much control over things.
right. First of all, that's just lazy. Let's just put it that way. The part of that's lazy. Second, I have to agree with Twiz on this one. That would make us conspiracy theorists. Usually, if we're sitting here just chatting about it, someone would walk in. Yeah, no, I don't think that's ever going to happen. So, you're saying with this technology, I could sit here and tell my fan to turn itself on, or tell my lock to lock or unlock itself. Yeah, no, that's a no-go for me. Y'all can keep it.
Well, if you just imagine if you combine the Alexis with, the AI-enabled, we'll just call them dolls.
Uh-huh.
No more personal interaction at all. I mean, for crying out loud, you don't have to. I mean, I work for a delivery service that works through an app, so you don't have to leave your house to get food anymore at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
You can just order from any restaurant. You can just say, "Hey, I want this," and someone like me will bring it to you.
Right.
You don't have to get out of your chair to turn on the lights because Alexis will do that for you. You don't have to change the channel. You don't even have to touch the clicker.
That's right. He said it. You heard it here first. Clicker.
Yeah, the clicker. And now you don't even have to meet a lady because science is technology is taking care of that.
Yeah. It is. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because you have AI that's really doing great things to make things easier for quality of life, but at the same time, it almost dips so far into quality of life that it takes any reason for us to move ever.
Well, like I said, it's just lazy. I mean, people are always looking for easier this or easier that because they don't want to have to put forth any effort to do these things. And I'm sitting here like, they're just my personal opinion, but there comes a point in time where, it's like they're enabling people to not get up and do these things for themselves. Everybody wants something done for them. And I'm sorry, people, that's just not the way the world works.
And a lot of people who are anti-technology are in that zone of, the Terminator world's going to come true and AI is going to take over. I think it's more along the lines of Wall-E. We're all just going to be fat tubs of lard floating in our little chairs as robots do everything for us, feed us, do everything short of digest for us.
Absolutely, like that. Yeah. I think that's definitely closer. Now, I mean, we say that, but also get this. Not only is Google doing that, but Samsung. Obviously, Samsung's in the one-up crowd because they prefer to do that all the time. They're hoping to have all of their devices AI enabled by 2020. Now, what does this include, you might ask? I'm going to tell you light switches, their faucets, mirrors, and yes, even the Golden Throne. So apparently, when you go to the Golden Throne, it shall talk back.
I don't want to live on the planet anymore. I'm just saying.
Wait. Question. Can I program it to say, thank you, that was yummy?
That's possible. I was hoping for a metric kind of app that when I was done, it would actually give me dimensions. That's what I was hoping for. So, and then add those to leaderboards. And
dude, I saw a toilet seat that has a scale built into it, so you can measure how much you weigh afterwards.
What?
That's impressive.
Oh wow, that's
impressive.
And that's a little scary too.
But like I said, I'll back it. I'll even throw my money in the bag because I want leaderboards on the Golden Throne because I want to know how I compete against the rest of the world.
Well, so we just have a daily competition going on here,
Okay, now let's expand upon this. If we're going to have a leaderboard, would extra fiber be considered performance-enhancing drugs? What about White Castle or Taco Bell?
It could be. There are cheating mechanics built into this. So we would have to take it to the Olympic level and get with the anti-doping league and ensure that everything's fit to standard.
We got to get Asados ruling on this.
Yeah.
And I think in the rules, in the bylaws of this, there's no post being in the field living on MREs for a week allowed.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, that's some dense, heavy stuff.
That's right. No MRE crackers and peanut butter allowed within 700 meters of the toilet.
But the MRE, the jalapeno cheese spread that comes with the MREs are delicious.
Yeah, but I mean, it ends up backing you up for at least a week.
That's true.
By design, though. I'm pretty sure that's by design to keep you from doing that in the field.
Right. Yeah, they want you to hold it the whole time you're in the field. That way, you know, you feel like you're going to explode by the time you walk back into your door, and then you can't. And then it ends up being more like a mortar, right? And it hits that big thing there.
Well, you don't even know, man, because Chris, when you're in, you young boot people, I'm trying to think of what you are. I mean, I've almost cursed there, but you boots had it easy. The MREs are practically delicious now. We had these dehydrated sausage patties that tasted. Oh, it was the worst thing ever. It was like styrofoam, and no matter how much water heating up, and that's when I learned Tabasco sauce on everything.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah, sometimes we would call it Ranger pudding, where you would literally take everything in the MRE and just put it all together, stir it up, and you're like, it's something. I'm not really sure what this is exactly.
At least you're getting nutrients.
Right. It may or may not kill me. I'm unsure, but we'll see what happens.
You'll live. You just won't like it, but you'll live.
But moving on with CES, they once again, like I said, the big thing there was TVs. You know, every year it's moving on to the bigger and better TV. LG and once again Samsung were actually the two biggest during the event. They brought in. LG was the one that brought in the 65-inch 4K that can roll up like paper to stick it on the wall. And Samsung, on the other hand, brought a 146-inch TV. They called it the wall TV. 146 inches.
No. All right. I'm sorry. 146-inch TV.
146-inch TV. They essentially want you to take this TV and cover an entire wall. So instead of using a projector screen, you would just slap a TV on your wall. And yes, I did. I apologize. We'll fix that later.
You know, well,
I mean, whoever holds that handle is just going to get really popular all of a sudden.
Right. You know, here's my take on this. I mean, first of all right, and I've had some experience with, you know, rebuilding TVs, computers, things. I've dabbled in a whole lot of little electronics and stuff. I'm just kind of curious how they've made it to where you can roll a TV up like paper, you know, the whole dynamic with the electronics and circuits and all these things. Mm-hmm. And then 146 inches, you said?
Yep. 146 inches.
I don't think I have a wall that big in my house, like one flat surface big enough for that.
Right.
Right. What?
I live in a house that was built in like 1920s. So it's all angles and weird chimney here and something there and
Jiminy Crickets and
oh yeah. Every now and again Oliver Twist shows up asking for more. Please, sir. Have some more.
Would you get out of here?
Go away, ghost.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Check out that walking stick.
Right.
Don't laugh, I have one.
The funniest thing, right? Because we're 4K is actually getting to the point where it's HDR, right? When we added HDR, this is a new color spectrum, and they're pushing that forward. But of course, we just can't let anything sit for a minute, because not only were they showing both of those TVs in 4K, they were showing their new line of upcoming 8K, because why not? Well, I mean, we can't even finish one generation before we have a new generation. Obviously, these 8Ks cannot be purchased by any normal human, but they are already there apparently.
But by the way, everyone, he's saying A as an apple, K. He's one of those people.
No, it's 8. It's 8. The number. This podcast is brought to you by the number 8.
That was an evil cackle. It's just in a suit. He's got Mr. Bigglesworth, and now he's got the evil cackle.
Right.
Well, I guess we know what Debbie Downer's new nickname is going to be.
That's right.
Not Betamax.
Betamax. Betamax is actually based on a comic book character, Betamax, hilarious comic book character, who's part human, he's a cyborg, part human, part robot, but he was done in the 80s, so he can't actually be upgraded or it will kill him.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He has a built-in fax machine instead of having cellular service. He's got a Polaroid camera built into him. It's hilarious.
Wow.
So there's a reason for the Betamax.
Well,
Debbie Downer.
Yeah, I'm seeing this now. I'm actually taking a look at it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'm taking a look at this now, and I keep wondering why. My side's freezing up pretty well and other things, but also
that's that Walmart internet.
Yeah. Honestly, when we move here soon, we're actually gonna be able to upgrade our internet from the crappy service we have here to something a little bit better. It's gonna be all cable based, so that's gonna be nice. They're running off of old DSL wire out here in the country, and I mean we're deep country, so I wouldn't be surprised if my video has problems streaming, but
it happens. But
yeah.
I think one of the biggest news is in TVs, however, is going to be NVIDIA. NVIDIA rolled out its new BFGD, which don't get ahead of me, because it's big format gaming display.
Yeah, sure, that's what it means. you know there's a development nerd going.
Got him!
Exactly.
Yeah, but essentially this sucker is an NVIDIA-built 65-inch gaming monitor. Their whole purpose is to attempt to give that 1 millisecond latency on a 65-inch screen. And currently, right now, obviously, this thing's in the starting out in the teens, because they just announced it, and that's what everybody's assuming it's going to start out as. So we'll see when it happens later on. But I'll be watching that, because I'm actually really interested to see how NVIDIA is actually going to pull off a 65-inch monitor.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting, but still it won't run PUBG.
Right. If you don't have G-Sync, you're screwed. They're basically trying to jump out. And speaking of, Twiz brought it up earlier with Skynet. Apparently, we want to get to where we have Skynet and T-2000s chasing us down as fast as possible, because there was slews and slews of robots all over the place in this event. And unfortunately, we're going to have to say RIP to Aibo, the Sony robot dog. I don't know if y'all remember that one. Came out in the mid-2000s. It was the big craze. It was almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie where he was trying to chase down that superhero in the store and got run over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, apparently Aibo, Rip. He's gone by the wayside. They will no longer support him.
Rest in pepperonis.
That's right. But obviously they're making robots to do anything from maid work to construction work. They're trying to make them emotional and do all these different things. What do y'all think of this new? It's not really new, but I definitely see a little bit bigger of a push to make the robot thing happen. Because I can't really describe what it is exactly. I think they want iRobot or something like that to happen on purpose. At least that's my thought.
I don't get what's behind it. You know, whenever I see something like this, I always wonder, okay, what's behind this? Why do you want this? Why is it so important to you to have a robot that can do these things? What's, you know, especially when it's something that's going to take away from a person. Mm-hmm. You know, why is it so important to take away something that a person can do? Self-driving cars. Okay, well, people are unreliable and crash cars, but you know what? I like driving. I find it relaxing.
Right.
You know,
right.
To some extent. I get a little bit of a thrill. You know, almost like GTA.
Right.
Waiting for the stars to go off.
Yeah, that's right.
But why take all this stuff away? I mean, I'm going to be that old fart that's still driving his cars, and his kids going, "Grandpa, why are you driving the car? You know he does it himself. You got a car driving him. You don't know what it's doing. I'll do it."
Yeah,
right.
That's going to be me.
Bing, like the classic Western.
Well, you know, all right, here's another take on this, you know, and I've got to agree with you, fellas, but it's also too, I'm sitting here wondering, you know, American innovation's always been about, well, we can, human innovation overall, not just American innovation. The thing I have to question is, have they ever stopped and thought, should they?
No.
Well, that's too much work, even though, I mean, they're creating something from nothing, but it's do it now, ask questions later kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can see where they're going with it, and I understand where they're going with it. Sometimes the applications are a little silly. One of the quotes that one of the companies was using is they were looking at Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. Was their thought process is where they wanted to go, to where this robot would essentially feed you, go to the refrigerator. But I mean, that's what I have. That's why I have children.
Slave labor.
Yeah,
that's exactly why I had children.
Yeah, no other reasons other than that alone. So
I shouldn't have to do dishes anymore.
Right.
I have kids for that.
You know, insert them here. That's what you were created for.
By the way, kids, if you're watching this, I didn't mean that.
No, we're all joking, 100%.
Yeah.
Now go clean your room.
And go get me a beer, please.
That wasn't a request.
Any final thoughts on CES? Anything that y'all wanted to bring up about it?
Well, I got nothing on CES.
Yeah, and so far on CES, I think, you know, and to retouch on some of these things, I think they're just taking away from us, taking away from people actually getting involved in some of this stuff and making it to where, like y'all said, it's just too hands-free. Everybody wants it done for them. I'm sorry, a lot of this is a no-go for me. Just the AI stuff makes me very weary. I keep thinking Terminator. You know,
I think for me, the smart TVs are really cool. The funny thing I have is, since I am a gamer, I want a non-smart TV. I want essentially, like NVIDIA's talking about. That's why I'm interested, because I just want a really big monitor, because I have a surround sound and I have consoles to do all the apps that I need. Why do I need a smart TV? I don't. I could probably save so much more money. I could probably sell 1 million TVs if they were just not smart. I mean, I want a dumb TV.
Well,
start looking online. Get them on Craigslist and resell them.
Yeah.
Or do what I do whenever I need a new piece of electronics. Go down to that neighborhood. We all know that neighborhood.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Find the crackhead that has an open box Xbox. Just don't ask where he got it from because you don't want to know. Or a TV. Get it cheap and resell it on Craigslist. There you go. New business idea right there. You can have it.
Yep.
Hey,
I'm feeling it.
You know.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, yeah, I think that's for that. You know.
Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and move on to gaming and some of the latest trends that are going on. I don't know if y'all know, but apparently there is a new Fable title on the horizon if you're a Fable fan. It is, however, still in development. I know the creator has come out and talked about that he wanted to keep it more like a prequel version. But if you're a Fable fan, you know, joy, because there is a Fable on the horizon. What do you guys think about that? We'll go with Twiz.
You know, Fable is not really my kind of game. I never got into it. I tried it. The last. No thanks.
All right, Debbie Down. I mean,
the real Debbie Downer.
Definitely. Do I look like a Debbie to you? First of all. Second of all, let's not answer that question on air. Third, as far as Fable goes, I remember playing the first one, and it wasn't terrible. It was a little hard to get into. The second one I didn't mind so much, but I found the storyline really lacking. I'd be willing to give the third one a try, you know, depending on, you know, game mechanics, storyline, graphics, you know, all these things that we look for and as players. Playability and ease, because you don't want to make something that is so overcomplicated that halfway through the beginning of the tutorial, you're like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I know the original Fable was probably the most celebrated version in the Fable series, and if I was to hope, I would say as long as they could fit that formula back into a new iteration of this game and just update it, because I know a lot of game developers run into that issue where they want to try so hard to reinvent the wheel that they take a piece that was so core to the game in the beginning and it turns everyone away. I'll tell you one game that did it: God of War Ascension.
Yeah.
That's how you take a franchise and poop all over it.
Yeah, throw it down the drain because, you know,
it was horrible.
I was a big God of War fan. Oh yeah, I was a big God of War fan, and once I got Ascension, because I remember playing 3 and I loved 3.
Oh, 3 was so good.
3 was fun. I loved the storyline behind it too, and you know, for a lot of players as well, I don't think about just the game itself, but I think about, you know, the backstory, the storyline, the character motivations. I mean, and this is where I nerd out. This is, you know, my nerd coming through here. And you're right, with Ascension, it's just they took it, and I'm sitting here like, I'm sorry, you just turned any future series you had for this into trash. Unless you can do something that will absolutely blow us out of the water and redeem this series, you've just tanked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that God of War Ascension, I said it was a really good example. There is a how could I put it? An issue with sequels right now, I think. There's too much push to try to shove a sequel down your throat to where it kind of it makes it lose its luster straight off the bat.
Well, see, there's only one sequel I'm waiting for that I'm really looking forward to this year. I don't know if you got anything on this, and we're going to get to it in a second. Mm-hmm. But I got to ask, Rockstar, why no PC for Red Dead Redemption 2? Why?
I don't know. That surprised me.
You know, I think you're asking $1 million question there, because a lot of the Red Dead Redemption fans, I know myself included, have I may not be a big PC player, but there are some titles I look forward to it with, and that was one I was kind of hoping that they'd drop. And I'm sitting here, and I really do think you asked that $1 million question, was just like, why, you know? But I mean, that'd be the same question as if you're asking Sony why they don't do backwards compatibility with their newer systems. I don't think we're just ever going to get an answer.
Probably not. No.
Just like we're going to ask Sony, why no PUBG?
Right.
Well, actually, from what I've heard, as soon as it drops from being exclusive Xbox and PC, that they're gonna start dropping it for Sony for PlayStation now.
Yeah.
This is just so far. This is what the rumor is. And, and
you're right. The plan is definitely to move it. It's kind of like some of the others exclusive, like a timed exclusive, like Destiny 2 and Destiny 1 had timed exclusives only for PlayStation. It's kind of the same thing going on. It will eventually release for PS4. My only thing with Sony is Sony. You should know the way, and that way is to allow us all to play together on all of our consoles and PCs.
Yes, cross console gaming.
Speaking of D-Way, I was going to bring this up. Apparently, shots have been fired against the Ugandan Knuckles.
Oh no!
And we've seen the rise of the Gur army, where people are now converting to Gur and bringing doom to the Knuckles.
Oh no!
Showing them the way.
Oh, poor Uganda Knuckles.
It's a civil war now.
The struggle is real. It's a really sad day.
We shall show them the way.
Sorry, I'm on the side of the Gurs.
I'm gonna have to agree. I don't know. I think it's just going to be funny all the way around because there's a lot of herp derp going on around there.
There's a lot of herp derp going around anyway.
That's right.
Wherever people are. I think I have a question for our fan base, for people listening out there. All right. What are your thoughts on interconsole playability? Being able to get on the same game. Like, let's say Twiz here has. Let's say once he gets better than his potato, he gets on, Fortnite or PUBG, and I get Fortnite, PUBG, and ABN gets Fortnite, PUBG, and we're all in different systems. I would love to be able to cross-play against you guys without having to switch my consoles,
Absolutely. Like, that's that big elephant of many colors that is sitting in the room. Because Xbox is lent a hand. I mean, even Nintendo. And that says a lot if Nintendo's okay. Because Rocket League on Nintendo is cross-compatible with the PC and the Xbox.
Sony's holding out.
Like, I don't get it. I get Sony's really high strong, but speaking of with Sony, the reason I say this is because this certain company called Nintendo is looking to take their lunch money. And why is that, you might ask? Well, apparently after the Game Development Conference, they released a memo that said about 84% of all the devs, the developers that went to this conference, said every single game that they've given to the Switch has shown above average sales. So that means, that's 84% of all the developers that have designed a game for the Switch said it is sold above average. This year was named the fastest selling console of all time. So what do y'all think of this Nintendo stuff going on right now?
I think Nintendo is definitely innovating. I think Microsoft is beating Sony on that level. And Nintendo sat over here and they've carved out a nice little niche for themselves and said, okay, you guys duke it out with your PUBGs and your GTAs and whatnot. we have this fun little niche over here. It's different from what you guys are doing. You know, it's all about the fun innovations. Those new cardboard things. My grandson got a Switch for Christmas, and now I'm looking for his birthday. You know, maybe he needs that cardboard fishing pole.
Right.
You build the cardboard yourself, and you put your Switch in it, and now you can play video fishing.
Yep, Libo, Nintendo
Right.
Libo.
You know, and that's actually awesome. I think that's, like you said, very innovative of Nintendo. And you know, I'm gonna tell you, as a person that has had tons of Sony systems in the past, you know, as a lifelong Sony fan, I'm actually starting to be disappointed. Extremely disappointed in Sony for the fact Xbox, you know, Microsoft is making advances, Nintendo is making advances. All these other companies are actually advancing, and it seems like the only people that are getting backwards here, with some of the things they're doing, is Sony. And I mean, believe it or not, I've spent plenty of time on the phone throughout the years calling Sony saying, "Hey, backwards compatibility. You'd make money. You'd make a killing. Like, the market would literally fall into your hands." Because
I don't think that's the way.
you know what? It would be the way. They just can't see the light.
No, I don't think that's the way for Sony, for PlayStation. I can show you the way.
Yeah, right. I think
No, seriously. No, the way that Sony can carve out their own niche and differentiate themselves from Microsoft and differentiate themselves from Nintendo, the thing that no one except for the PC gods are doing right now that Sony has a little foothold in is VR. Yeah. VR is the way of the future for Sony. They need to really get that together and really put out a strong title, just like Halo came out for Xbox, and Xbox first came out, it was kind of like lagging behind PS2, or was it?
Correct.
Yeah, it was PS2 at the time. And then all of a sudden Halo dropped, and everyone's like, "Oh, screw the PlayStation. I need this Xbox. Everyone's playing Halo. I need to be playing Halo. I want Halo. Give me an Xbox." They need to come out with that one VR title that everyone says, "I gotta play it." Just like PUBG, you know. Before PUBG, a lot of people were singing the praises of PC gaming, but PC gaming wasn't a must-have. You know what I mean? Then PUBG dropped, and now everyone's playing PUBG, and everyone's got to have Steam, got to have a PC, got to do this. You know, now Xbox is getting in on it too, but you know, because it's so strong for the PC. That has reignited the PC gaming, I think, in general. Yeah, and made it more mainstream, and that's how Sony gets back into this.
Is Sony, because I mean, we're finally back up to the big three again. It's not just a big two, which I'm so happy about because I'm a Nintendo nerd first. I love all three, but I'm a Nintendo nerd first. And I'm glad they're back into it in good old fashioned Nintendo way. Sony is absolutely obliterating Microsoft in hardware sales. I mean, it's not even close. Every month the results just come out, and at least outside of the United States, Microsoft is getting obliterated, and it's not looking good for Microsoft because they're really not pushing the exclusives. One of the reasons is because, for example, country of origin between Sony and Nintendo is Japan. And then, if you notice, the Switch and the PS4 are JRPG heavy.
Yep.
And there have been Japanese developers that have come out to say that we don't like working with Microsoft. And that is awful to have developers say that they don't want to work with you, because that could kill your company.
Hence what's going on with Microsoft.
Right. Microsoft's trying to kind of muscle their way through it to say, we have an Xbox One X. Like, that's great. That's wonderful. However, when you do things like delay Crackdown 3 2 or 3 times, do stuff like that, these are your intellectual properties that are going to push your hardware. Because you can make the fastest console you want all day long. If you do not have software, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
I love Crackdown.
I know. Crackdown was amazingly fun. And that's why the hype around Crackdown 3 is so big. And when they've delayed it multiple times, it has really hurt them. Just like Scalebound. Scalebound was a JRPG. It was essentially like a Devil May Cry style game where the main character is connected to a dragon. So you get to fight on the ground, call a dragon, and then ride said dragon. I mean, who doesn't want to do that?
Well, that sounds like a dream game to me. I mean, that'd be hilarious. It'd be fun. Hey, hey, you know,
Pew, 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 pew.
you know, all these shots fired.
I
here,
know.
You know? But no, and it, like for me, and the reason I brought up the whole like the Sony issue was a simple program. Honestly, the technology's already there inside the systems. You know, it's already there. You can read, you know, your regular DVDs, your Blu-rays.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, it has a hard time differentiating from regular CDs, which is pretty stupid. You know, however, since the technology's already there, and if you're thinking about, you know, the format that the original PlayStation discs were written in, the technology, like I said, is already there to do it. Just write a program, put it on the store, charge $20 per, you know, per download for if you want backwards compatible for each system, you know, dating back.
I could tell you exactly why Sony will not do backwards compatibility. Because this is the same company that on a PS4 Pro, right? This is supposed to be a 4K machine. You cannot play 4K Blu-rays in a PS4 Pro. However, in an Xbox One S, it's not even the X, it's the S, you can play 4K HDR Blu-rays on it.
Oh, wow.
Like that kind of shows you where Sony is, because they like to cut very, very tiny corners. Like, not a whole lot of people catch it, but they love to cut these little tiny corners on you to where it kind of limits the availability of their hardware.
Right. Well, you know, I think Sony's shooting themselves in the foot with this, but this is just my opinion. You know, I mean...
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, Sony's probably going to steal. The PS4 is probably going to be one of the biggest selling consoles of all time. There's no doubting that. It's just where they go from here is going to determine who essentially is going to jump ahead, because based on all these numbers that we're seeing, Nintendo is going to give them a run for their money. Between all the numbers from this past year into 2018, we'll see how it hits, especially E3 coming in the summer. Speaking of Sony, you know, the big two currently, BioWare. I don't know if y'all have heard of the upcoming BioWare game Anthem.
Yes.
Apparently,
I've heard of it.
Apparently, Anthem is being rumored to be pushed back until early 2019. Which,
again,
unfortunately, I have to say is not too big of a surprise, because we got a snippet of what it looked like, and we haven't heard a thing since.
But doesn't BioWare have kind of a history of pushing back release dates, though?
Yeah, but I mean that was E3 last year, right? And that was a full running game. Like, the presentation made it seem for the average person watching it, they're like, oh man, they're almost done with that game. But apparently not.
Well, and I'd rather they take their time and put it out right, and then rush and put out Crackdown 2.
Absolutely, Dr. Evil.
Yes, yes, yes.
I guess he's taking to heart what we said to him last night about just relax and have fun. a little too.
I know Mike Myers is going to jump out of the screen a little bit here in a minute.
Go back just a little bit. We don't need any copyright strikes, okay?
I will. The upside of this one, just like you said, is that more time gives a better opportunity for a better game. And you're absolutely right. What kind of confirms this is the fact that almost all of BioWare's teams are working on this project. So they've pretty much all hands on deck to work on this singular intellectual property. And I think I have a theory why. Mostly because Anthem is so close to Destiny 2, whether they want to believe it or not, since it's in that same genre. If they don't knock this out of the park, they're going to lose everything for it. And you got to remember who the publisher is for this. It's EA.
Ooh.
And we all know what's happened with EA right now.
Actually, I'm kind of lost on some of the EA stuff. I am an EA fan, but I haven't been keeping up with what's going on with them. So,
you don't know about the loot crates?
Yeah, essentially the big. They've had this loot crate issue for a minute now. They've kind of snuck it in here or there. The straw that broke the camel's back for every player was Star Wars Battlefront 2. Because it was a very hyped game. I mean, Battlefront has been a successful franchise.
Right.
So everybody
for a long time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And with the revival of the Star Wars movies, they could not fail, essentially. But when this game was about to hit, it leaked out that essentially it was almost a full play to win. Or pay to win, I mean. You put money into this game for loot boxes, and you will get all the stuff you need. Which is XP, weapons, all the stuff you need to be better than everyone else by just paying money.
Right, and the pay to play and pay to win thing is getting exhausting because I mean, like I said, I've played a lot of EA games in the past. I'm a big Need for Speed fan. More like the Hot Pursuits instead of the actual tuning of the cars and all this underground street racing. I know people like that, but I like the fact I can just take a stock super or hypercar and I can basically lead the cops on a giant map and run from them and tell them, hey, you got to try to catch me. But,
Need for Speed, my all-time favorite game. Love that game.
Yeah, especially the Underground series was probably my favorite.
Yes.
I can see why people would be just furious about the loot boxes. I mean, so what you're in essence doing is you're giving these other players who have the ability to spend all this money the utmost absolute edge, where players like myself who don't drop a lot of money in games like that and can't drop a lot of money in games, we basically get the shaft while everybody else is like, hey, look, we're pwning you. We're just going to keep pwning because,
Well, I think it goes back to, because you're more the rarity in the gaming community right now, Brandon, that you didn't really know all that much about, or you weren't up to date on what was going on. Everyone's whining and crying about it, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's going on and on about the pay to play and pay to win, but they wouldn't be doing it if you all weren't buying it. If you guys weren't actually buying into it and buying these loot crates and just grinding like everyone else, grinding like us broke people like me and Brandon, they wouldn't keep doing it. But because all of you are actually buying these crates and doing this, is why they keep doing it. Stop buying it, they'll stop doing it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's definitely one way. That's one way to look at it. The biggest issue with it is that it completely ruins the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because you essentially walk in being brand new, and it's a cliff, right? It's like you're looking straight up, and everyone else is up there while you're at the bottom. Because that's just the way they design it. Because you just dump a bunch of money, and there you are. You're at the top of the game, and you just started. Like that takes away the whole putting time in order to win versus spending a bunch of money. But that's one of the main reasons that Anthem is in a weird place, because the hype that's surrounding it, because it looked really good, and then because of EA as the publisher. Now, I will say BioWare has actually gone on Reddit multiple times and talked about, without going into specifics, to say that EA wasn't necessarily running the show for them. That EA lets BioWare pretty much handle everything on their own. But that's a developer talking about that on Reddit. Obviously, you have somebody at the corporate level, working as the liaison for BioWare to EA. That crap is probably happening and we don't even know. I mean, he might not even know if it's being controlled in that manner. But, I mean, we'll see. I think with BioWare's entire team essentially working on this project, I think we're in good hands. I mean, I really want Anthem to do well because it looks like another variation on this, Destiny 2-esque sci-fi shooter, multiplayer kind of game. And speaking of games, we could talk about some releases that are going on next month. Or actually not next month, but next week. I don't want to go out for a month. We'll just talk about next week. Now, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, get ready because Dissidia, Final Fantasy NT, is going to be come out for PlayStation 4 and essentially PlayStation 4. Kind of a fighting-esque game. If you want to look up for more information, check it out. Anybody else want to go over what else is coming out?
Sure. All right, so let me take a look at this again. I saw that Call of Duty World War II is dropping a new DLC.
Yep, the Resistance DLC.
I cannot wait. I do like the multiplayer aspects somewhat. FPS games, I'm okay with, and I don't mind so much. It's the zombies. I'm a huge zombies fan.
Right.
A little bit more, involved in looking at this new DLC that they're going to drop with it. It looks intense. I mean, if y'all haven't picked it up and played it yet, and y'all have played the other zombie series, I do recommend it. It's different. It's a good different. I'm not talking advanced warfare type different. More like it's brutal. It's intense.
Right. Speaking on that, we actually have it's January 30th for essentially those two, as well as EA's new UFC 3. So if you're a UFC fan, get ready on January 30th because that'll be dropping at his house if you bought it from Amazon, or if you got to go to a brick and mortar, be ready to go pick that up. Not necessarily a fan, but I think the last one I played was on Nintendo 64, and that was a WWF game.
Wow.
Or WCW versus NWO.
Wow, I remember that game. I loved it.
Yeah, getting that Rey Mysterio going through the ropes and doing that kind of madness.
619!
Right?
Hit him with the chair.
Exactly. We also got Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus DLC, The Diaries of Agent Silent Death. So be ready for that on January 30th as well. If you're a Switch fan, I mean, if you're into indies at all, and you don't own a Switch, I would go ahead and pull up Google and go ahead and hit Nintendo Switch indies. And the indies on Nintendo Switch are big. One of the big ones that's coming out is SteamWorld Dig. It's a steampunk variation platformer where you're essentially just digging, as the name implies. Don't want to insult anybody's intelligence. However, it's a nice, cool platformer if you're into that kind of thing. And so be looking out for that. There's some other games, but I thought as far as the list coming out for next week, those are probably the biggest hitters.
Yeah.
But I would keep it on the radar. And as far as long term, we have some PAX stuff going on that we'll probably hear some new stuff. Nintendo might actually do their online posting for releases, but we'll see. So I think what will last little bit of conversation we'll have here is how do you guys think that the gaming, comics, anime, nerdy, when do you think this thing hit mainstream? Twiz, we'll start with you.
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, sure.
It was with the release of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man or Iron Man, right around that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Because that opened it up for mainstream people to start getting into the geeky, nerdy stuff.
Right.
At least that's in my world. That's when I really started noticing, for lack of better terms, normies.
Right.
Starting to glom onto my culture.
Mm-hmm.
And saying how they're I'm a big comic book fan. I've seen Spider-Man twice.
Yeah.
Please. I'm old school. I'm so old. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm such an old comic book fan. I remember when a graphic novel meant something completely different than what it means to y'all now. What people call graphic novels are trade paperbacks. It's a collected edition of a miniseries or a story arc. A graphic novel is a standalone story. They're two different things, and it bothers me so much when people talk about how, I just read this graphic novel, The Watchmen. No, that was a miniseries. You're reading a trade paperback, collecting a miniseries. That was 12 issues. I bought them individually back in the day when I was a kid.
Was that the same thing for the Death and Return of Superman?
Yes. The Death and Return of Superman wasn't a miniseries. It was a storyline.
Right.
The Dark Knight Returns. Most of what people think of as graphic novels are just storylines in a trade paperback form.
Yeah. Was that the one with Azrael becoming Batman for a little while?
That was Nightfall.
Oh, that's right, Nightfall.
It's called Nightfall. But the better story arc, and if you can go, you should be able to find it like half-price books and stuff, is one called Schism, where there's an earthquake, and sort of the Batman Rises story kind of puts a take on this, where Gotham is so damaged that the United States blocks it off and says, "You're too damaged. You're dead to us," and basically anarchy takes over, and you get different factions of different Batman villains who run different neighborhoods. Great storyline, fantastic.
Right.
All right. What about you, Brandon?
Well, I think for me, and to use what he was saying for the normies as well. Before it was really normal. I noticed back like when EverQuest 2 and 3 were dropping. At least for me, that's when I noticed a big uptick in these. And then a little later on, you had Vanilla WoW. And that's when it really, really upticked, when people started figuring that out. Because when I started doing anything like this, I started back in multi-user dungeons, or MUDs, for people that for those that don't know what that is. It was all text based,
right?
Played through Telnet or different clients, or things like that. And yes, yes, and it's just I see some of those, but that community's dead now, as people have moved on to these super uber advanced MMORPGs. But what really started for me back was the text based, and actually having to go into a room and look at your ANSI drawings on your screen to figure out which direction you're going in. Spam your mobs by typing out your commands, and then you would key map them and hit 2 or 3 keys, and then you just go through the mobs and inside the entire room, and you just keep going and going. And I think for me, that's when things started changing, when the MMO RPGs really, really started getting big. When people figured out, hey, look, we can actually have a graphical representation of this.
Right,
and all play against each other and together online, and actually see what we're doing. We can build our characters, we can invest. But I'm talking back in the days of when 500 megahertz was like super uber cutting edge, and that everybody had to have it. All right, and just for a little reference for some people, I started off with a 33 megahertz machine. Just
Absolutely. I think on my end, it's a multifaceted answer. Now, if we're talking the fantasy genre, then it's going to be Lord of the Rings. That pushed that absolutely into mainstream. If we're talking, WoW did help it because I've been, active on WoW since vanilla, but WoW did help, but it was really Peter Jackson that hit it home there, and then that still see now I have to get distracted because you wrote that. But comics, I'm gonna have to agree with Twiz because I do believe it was the Spider-Mans, but it was twofold. It actually covered 2 generations, I think, because for the millennials, which is kind of a little bit me and stuff like that 90s era kids when we were watching Saturday morning cartoons with Iron Man, Spider-Man, and all that stuff, then what happened is when we got those Spider-Man movies, it just exploded because we finally got to see what we wanted in real life, and it's just been kind of going ever since. And your Kevin Smiths of the world are just pushing it forward and continually to make this such a big franchise. Like, people say they hate it, but they always hate what they can't beat. And
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, the fact that it's just the classic over-the-top superhero having fun, that's just what brings people into it. And I will say it is kind of funny watching the community split between I'm a nerd now versus I was a nerd back then, so I'm not going to accept the new nerds. Yeah, you're all going to regret this because I'm going to be running this show by myself here real quick. But with that, what we'll probably end up doing in later on shows, if anybody wants to come in and shoot us any kind of questions, we can go ahead and give answers at any time. So if anybody's watching right now that wants to shoot something in there while we're about to finish up, we'll answer your questions. I got
a question for you guys. Let me ask you guys before we wrap, as we're winding down. Now, one of the things I do out of sheer boredom sometimes is that there's a couple of gamers I love to watch. What gamers do you watch on YouTube or Twitch for that matter, besides John Burke? Who are you guys watching?
Yep. Brandon?
This is going to be blasphemy, and I'm going to get lambasted for this up and down. I don't watch game streamers. I just play. I know a lot of people are going to look at me and be like, oh, that is blasphemous, burn the heretic. But sorry, guys. I mean, until recently, I hadn't really become interested in watching a lot of streamers because getting so little time to play that when I play, I'm just focused on the game and not watching someone else do it.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, it was, I heard about Twitch and stuff like that, and I started kind of watching a little bit of Gothalion and then Broman, Towley for a while. Of course, everybody knows if you're a WoW guy at all or gal, then
person.
Individual
thing.
Then everyone knows Swifty, so everybody knows old Swifty and things like that. But I haven't really pushed too much. I'll follow a lot of streamers because I like smaller ones with they're up and coming and they're personable, talking all every single individual follower as they come through and stuff like that. Like it's a nice warming in my heart to see people making their dreams come true kind of thing, I guess.
Twiz?
Well, when I'm watching YouTube, I usually find like 2 or 3 different people I watch on a regular basis. And I do it mostly, and this is why you should start doing it from time to time, is I'm picking up tips and what they're doing. And because they're only putting out their wins and their really good streams. They're not, putting out, all their failures. So I'm picking up what they're doing so that maybe I can get better in what I'm doing too. So I find myself watching people like Ollie 43 is really great. I don't know if you watch him. He and his buddy George, they're out of England. They play a lot of GT racing, but they also do a lot of now they're doing Fortnite. But as far as Twitch goes, my favorite thing to watch on Twitch, you got to watch this sometime. Just take some time to watch it. Is I love the GTA RP community, specifically the family.
Yeah.
With I miss Sheriff Eli, but with Fincone and PMS Proxy and who else is there?
I've seen Fincone because
Tim Mack.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're on Facebook or something and you hit a video and it's right underneath the it shows the next video, and it was his. And I mean, I just sat there laughing the whole time. It was so funny. It's
hilarious, and you watch it. It plays out like a soap opera. It really does.
Yeah.
I would love to one day, one of the things I'm going to get, it's so nerdy for me, but one of the things I want to do once I get the gaming computers, I want to get into GTA RP. Just because it's just so much fun. I've already got the character built up in my mind of exactly what I'm going to do. But, you can sit there and watch them, and there's a way in Twitch where you can watch 4 streams at once and click through and see the story from different angles and how the story's played out. So do yourselves a favor. If you're bored, Burke's not playing or whatever, knowing that we're nominating or saying, hey, go watch this streamer, just type into Twitch Family RP or GTA Family RP and find one of these guys and just start watching. At first it'll take you a little bit of time to catch up what's going on, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, I will add, I do have some YouTubers that I don't really watch religiously, but I have subscriptions.
You watch Quibblecop, don't you?
No.
You subscribe to Quibblecop, don't you?
I unfortunately I do not.
You seem like a jelly guy.
I'm a Mr. Fruit kind of guy. Like that kid, and I call him a kid because he's a kid, but he is pretty funny, and he's my kind of jokester with the random singing and stuff like that, because that's how I play video games.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy that always play on Xbox, we used to just bust out in songs all the time, and that, he kind of gives me that vibe, and watching him play with Blue Westlow and Robbie V is hysterical. I mean, them kids go after each other, and it's really a whole lot of fun for me.
Let me ask you this, Chris. I'm gonna get your opinion on this. Doesn't Brandon kind of seem like one of the long lost Paul brothers?
He does.
He does. Are you a long lost Paul brother?
The world will never know.
What's really funny is he doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen every podcast, I think.
There are some things, blasphemy.
Yep.
Burn me as a heretic if you must. But I think that this show was even better than the last. It was great. It was fun to have a little bit of a blast with. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know everybody can't tell because my stuff is all over the place, and I do apologize for that. Mostly because the Skype was acting a fool. But I could actually probably I can't really mess with that right now. But y'all can obviously follow us at our different Twitter handles that are all mixed up. That's right. Just kind of do one of these, swap them out, and I think you'll be okay.
I think I'm pointing
actually,
in the right direction.
if you have any complaints about the show, you can tweet me directly. I'm at Brandon Morning 5. All your complaints, Brandon at Brandon Morning 5. If you want to tell us how great we are, go ahead and tweet directly to him. It's at Betamax_13. And all technical issues, definitely go down there. Right there. At ABN 269. Oh, wait. ABN MP 269.
Absolutely. Man, I think unless anybody comes in, has got a quick question for us, I think we pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Nailed it.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That was great.
And last but not least, guys, the reason why we're here. Remember, if you're a veteran, a Leo, first responder, civilian, you are not alone, and we are here for you. And not only for me, but for Twiz and Raging Cajun, this has been the official podcast of the Alpha Nerds Guild. Twiz, take us out.
Leroy Jenkins.